Hey, how are you? So, how was your end of the world? Pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, that movie, when we made it, which is basically 5 years ago, almost at the time that we started rolling principal photography, Sir David King, one of the most respected sort of mainstream scientists in the UK, had said we have about 4 to 5 years to take radical action on climate. And it's a fun little epilogue. We didn't.
Yes, that's right. And one of the things I think about watching the movie 5 years later is I feel like I got to say a lot of things. I got to say a lot of the things I wanted to say in the movie. Did you feel like you got to say a lot of the things you wanted to say?
Absolutely. I mean, the movie expresses how I was feeling at that time, which was like I was living in a farcical comic, a farcical, over the top play movie with very real consequences. And ultimately, that's the movie that we made. The first four-fifths of the movie are pretty silly, broad, and the ending is tragic and poignant. And yeah, there's a couple of jokes if you sit through the credits, but that's been my experience with what's going on with the climate, which is just a clown show of leadership from Western countries with very real tragic consequences.
One of the things I thought that I liked about the movie is it really, got to show science and scientists as people, flawed, human. But that's, as we like to say, the scientific method and peer review. They're sort of the best worst system we have. But you know, we're still people trying to do science as a process, and we are flawed. We're not perfect, but we try. And I feel like the movie did try to get that across. I thought that was really effective about it because part of the problem, in my opinion, with a lot of this is it's who do you trust and why? Who do you trust and why?
I mean, since we made this movie with you, uh, we started a non for profit climate studio called Yellow Dot. And what we really discovered is that the immense financial pressures and influence of, I mean, we have to remember the oil companies are the biggest companies ever in the history of mankind. And they are trafficking in the trillions of dollars. They have throttled Western government and, more importantly, news media. And so, since we started that non for profit, our movie that we all worked on became much more personal for me as I had to sit down with billionaires, with wealthy people, and try and get them to give to our non for profit, which is designed entirely to counteract oil company misinformation. But Amy, it also gave me an insight into what a lot of scientists are dealing with, which is you work at a university that is, yeah, the tuition pays for part of it, but the real serious research comes from grants, corporate underwriting, billionaires. And it's been sad to see large swaths of the university system go silent on, literally without exaggeration. And I could go into great detail as to why this is the case, but climate is the greatest threat to mankind ever. And yet, news media coverage has gone down almost 40% in the past 5 years. If you look at the output from a lot of universities and colleges, not all, it's become much more sort of incremental, nibble at the edges. So it's been really interesting just as a non scientist, but someone who's very interested in science, to see how money and power influence the empiric method. I mean, you can go back to Galileo being killed for saying something that everyone knew was true at the time. But science is always at odds with unfettered capitalism and power.
You know, one of the things I really appreciated about getting to do the movie is it was a chance to get to say the things that I think and feel and to get them out in front of a lot of people, hopefully. Because, you know, the scene where Leonardo DiCaprio's character just gets to lose it on TV, really just speak his mind and say what he thinks. that's that's how I feel. That's how I feel.
I mean, Amy is very humble and she's a scientist. So she is beholden to the forces around us that we, don't understand. And that's what drives her. But Amy was hugely instrumental in this, in the making of this movie, and worked with Leo DiCaprio a lot in getting him into that mindset of the scientist. So, Amy, you were incredible. But the one regret I have from the whole process, otherwise, considering that we made the movie during the peak of lockdown of COVID, I could not be prouder of the work we did. But the one regret, not a full regret, that I have is Amy very early on told me, if you were going to discover an interstellar comet that had entered our solar system, most likely it would be 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years away from impact. And my response was, well, we need the drama of it's coming soon. And if you look at it, when we made that movie, it would have lined up exactly with the next 5 years, which the next 5 years were the window for action on climate. And we've let those years lapse. And now we're in a totally new paradigm. And it would have been a very different but incredibly interesting movie if we had done 5 to 6 years. You would have seen people try and go back to their normal lives, losing sleep, calling the government, hey, do you guys want to talk? And that probably would have mirrored climate even more exactly. But like I said, overall, very happy with the allegory that we told with this movie.
Yeah, I think I ragged on you a couple times about this. Oh, it takes 5 years to build a decent spacecraft. And see, I would have watched the movie with 5 years of design reviews and monthly management charts.
Right?
But we would have killed the
Yeah.
audience. We would have killed the audience with boredom. I'm sure of that. But in any event, yeah, let's take a couple questions from the audience here really fast. Do we have a time for a question? Anybody have a question they'd like to ask? Oh, we've got one right here. Phone here. So
Yes, I did see some apparent references to great films of the past, and I was wondering if you could comment on which films you drew from. I certainly saw Doctor Strangelove there. Could you talk about some of the other inspirations that you were drew from in the movie, for the movie?
Yeah. Dr. Strangelove was kind of a retroactive influence in that the journalist David Sirota had said to me when I was really pulling my hair out about why aren't we doing anything about this very clearly defined and categorized dynamic with pumping the atmosphere and the climate with greenhouse gases. And what the hell do we think is going to happen? And David made the joke. It's like the comet's about to hit and no one cares. And I had been at that point, I had written like 8 other 2 to 3 page treatments that were dramatic, that were multi storied, and all these different approaches. And when he made that joke, I realized like if you can laugh, it means you have perspective. So pretty quickly after that realization, Dr. Strangelove became a huge influence. And there were a ton of people when that movie came out that were like, this is not cool. Like the jokes you're making are not acceptable. I also looked at a movie called Silent Running with Bruce Dern. I looked at all the comet meteorite films like Sudden Impact. There's a bunch of them, but overall, I felt like our film was pretty unique in that we shifted in the end. We didn't fulfill the prescribed Hollywood story structure. And when we took the script out on the town, to all the studios, financiers, a lot of them passed because of our ending. But what was interesting was, all the actors signed up because of our ending. And God, God bless Netflix. They were like, all right, we're going to do it. Can you shoot a version in case the audience hates the world blowing up? And I told my producer, Kevin Messick, I was like, no chance. The audience is going to love this ending. And sure enough, when we did early tests, the number one thing with the movie was the ending because people are really savvy and smart. Our news media isn't, our elected government officials aren't, but real people know what's going on. And there was just a study that came out, or poll numbers from yesterday, that show that even though mainstream news media has reduced coverage of climate by 40%, the number has gone up among real people who are more and more concerned. So it was really cool the first time we screened the movie and the audience went nuts for the ending. Like, finally, something that's not BSing us.
I think that was for myself. So my partner works on climate change. So we're a fairly apocalyptic household, I would say, between the asteroids and climate. So we watch a lot of comedies, by the way. So for folks who make comedies, thank you, keeping us alive here. But I think there's a certain poignancy to it. And I guess from my perspective, I would say it's not hopeless. We absolutely can solve the climate problem. It's not technologically impossible, but it's a people problem. And that means changing culture, changing politics, and just as the movie says, the science is just the science. It is neutral. So with regards to that,
I think the big thing is, when we made the movie, a lot of scientists were saying we have 4 to 5 years to prevent the worst effects and to not cross 1.5 degrees Celsius warming. We've now, for all intents and purposes, crossed 1.5. I mean, there are some people that would argue it has to be a 20-year average. But I agree with Amy in the sense that, I don't know if you remember, but I said this during the whole media tour for this movie: science is our Excalibur. Like, that is our strongest response. So there are still, even though we let that moment go, so many things we should be studying: carbon removal, geoengineering, mitigation, deep sea carbon removal. I mean, there's incredible science that is out there, but sadly, Western governments, which are totally beholden to financial markets, have gone silent. So that's the part that really makes me nervous.
Yeah, and I guess I would say just one last question, but as we find our person who wants to ask, we have one right there in the middle seat there. I guess, the thing I look at it is we just got to get out there and keep trying and do what we can do. And if that means making movies about science, about climate, if it means trying to humanize scientists in all of our humanness and our flaws, I think those are things we can do. And of course, we can read and learn about the science. And for those of us working in the field, get up every day and just keep doing it. In other words, as I like to say to my students, despair does not serve us. We don't have time. Next question.
Solidarity with that statement. We have so many actions we can take, and science is the empirical method is the greatest achievement of mankind. It really is, if you look at it. And so anyway, I'm just giving fist up to Amy.
I love
on
it.
That statement.
We'll have a question here. One last one.
Thank you. I loved this movie, by the way. It was so amazing and inspiring. So I have a question for Dr. Amy. What challenges did you face while trying to become a scientist?
Gosh. Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I would say one of the biggest things is, we're really lucky that average, ordinary people like me get to become scientists. And that's possible because we have a government, largely, that supported us. And it takes many, many decades to make a scientist. And I'm just one example of many. But the point is you have to have society that values the investment in education, in making people into scientists, and to giving them the opportunities to do it, to providing the resources for basic research, and then, sustaining that across many decades. Grad school takes, 5 to 7 years, something like that, on top of your undergrad education. So, for all the folks who are here, I would like to say thank you for your support, because otherwise we don't get to do this, We're here because people have valued over decades the work that we get to do. And I'm very grateful to everybody here for doing that. So it's, it's a lot of work, takes a lot of time, but it also really requires sustained cultural valuation of that effort, more than anything. Just one person in a very long chain, let's put it that way. Okay, well.
Can I
Yeah.
brag on Amy? So Dr. Mainzer came into our project already very accomplished, esteemed, and we really had a great working relationship. And clearly, Dr. Mainzer, really aware of what's going on, but through our process and her analyzing the skills and resources she had, she then jumped to a project using satellites to track, well, I'll let you describe it, but there's some argument to be made. The greatest outcome of this film is the work that you did, Amy.
Well, it's been fun to kind of take inspiration from the movie a little bit. So my better half is using a satellite to look for methane emissions, methane leaks. And so I found a collaborator to work using the same satellite and the same airborne data set to look for invasive plants, actually, that cause wildfires in Southern California. And it turns out it works great. It's a really, really, really effective technique. And so that's been a lot of fun to work on, because it combines native plants, which I love, hiking, which I also love, and, trying to do something that reflects, you go into science because you love nature, ultimately, right? That's the whole thing, right? We do this because we love it. So for me, getting to be kind of inspired back by the film a little bit to go out and start, shifting my own research in different ways to help hopefully do a little bit to protect the home planet has been really great. And so, well, I think with that, we'll wrap up. But Adam, thanks a lot. It's really great to see you, and hopefully we'll get to catch up soon again.
I would love that. You are a true superhero, and everyone watching this, give scientists 80% more respect than you're already giving them, because they are our truth tellers. In a weird way, even, looking at it through the lens of religion, if you believe that God made this universe, or Allah, or Yahweh, or whatever, these are the people that pay attention to the details of that gift we've been given. So pressure your governments, your schools. More science is always good for all of us.
Amen to that. Adam McKay, thank you so much. It's been really wonderful to chat with all of you and our audience here. Thank you so much to Toronto International Film Festival for allowing us to be here tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Love it. Bye, guys.
Take care.